Hello friends, welcome to this series of videos for the explanation in English language of the holy and inspiring Srimad Bhagavad Gita for the chapter 15 Puruṣottama Yoga, one shloka at a time. This explanation is based on Jñyāneśwari, which was written by Sant Jñyāneśwara more than 725 years ago. In the 15th chapter of the holy Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavān Śri Kriśna uses the metaphor of an inverted Ashwatha tree for describing the universe. He also explains two types of beings, perishable ones and the liberated ones, and then explains the supreme divine personality in order to achieve the liberation. In the 7th shloka of the 15th chapter, Bhagavān Śri Kriśna says, mamaivānśho jīva-loke jīva-bhūtaḥ sanātanaḥ manaḥ-ṣhaṣhṭhānīndriyāṇi prakṛiti-sthāni karṣhati. Meaning, the embodied souls in the living beings in this material world are my eternal fragmental parts, but it gets itself bound with the six senses, including the mind, which are attracted towards the material nature. Let us understand this shloka a little bit further. Bhagavān Śri Kriśna says that it is his own fragmental part which is present in the souls of the living beings in this world. Even though he, the Puruṣottama, himself is all pervading, the part of his which is in the souls of these living beings appears to be limited by the size and ego of the body in which the soul resides. Sant Jñyāneśwara says, samudra ka vayu vashe taranga kara ullase to samudrangshu aisa dise saniva jevi. The wind blowing over the surface of the ocean causes the waves to be formed. A single wave, even though appears to be different, is in itself part of the vast sea water itself. In the same way, the soul residing in the living beings is part of the Parabrahman, the divine supreme being, which gets attracted to the sensory objects in this material world because of the senses it gets attached to. In this shloka, the term jīva-loke refers to the various sensory objects and the activities which are going on in this world towards which the senses get pulled in. Sant Jñyāneśwara says, aga upajane nimane he satsachi je ka manane to jīva-loku mi mhane samsarahana. I call this material world the jīva-loke or prapancha, where there is definite but wrong understanding that once a living being is born, then I, the part of me, the soul, residing in the body, gets born, or when it perishes, then the soul also perishes with it. Just as the reflection of the moon appears in the water, but the moon is separate from the water, or a crystal which is placed on saffron appears to be red in color, but in fact it is not red. In the same way, you should see me in jīva-loke, the material world, as separate from jīva-loke. O Arjuna, this part of me does not affect my eternal nature and does not disturb my non-action, but understand clearly that to think that I am the doer and the enjoyer residing in the body of the living being is only an illusion. Kimbahuna atma chokhatu houni prakriti shi ekavatu बांधे प्रकृती धर्माचा पाटू आपणपया. The Jivatma, the soul, is pure in nature, but because it unites with the material nature, it binds itself to all the action-oriented dharma of the sensory tendency. And then, thinking that the mind and the five senses are all its own, it tends to manifest everything in this material world and assumes the egoistic nature. Just as an ascetic in his dream becomes his own entire family with wife and kids, and then runs here and there with passion to nurture that family. In the same way, this soul, due to ignorance of its own Brahman form, believing that it is the Prakriti, the material form, runs again after the subjects of the same nature and serves itself. Then it sits in the chariot of the mind, enters the forest of words heard by the ear, goes into the jungle of touch, gets lost in seeing the surrounding beauty with the eyes, experiences different tastes with the tongue, and becomes enchanted by many kinds of fragrances. ऐसेनी देहेंद्रिय नायके धरुनी मन जवळिके भोगी जती शब्दादिके विषय भरणे. Thus, this carnal soul, embracing the mind, consumes various types of sensory objects, thus trying to get enjoyment. In the next shloka, Bhagavān Śri Kriśna talks further about this attachment of the mind and senses to the soul. But let us first recite this shloka again. mamaivānśho jīva-loke jīva-bhūtaḥ sanātanaḥ manaḥ-ṣhaṣhṭhānīndriyāṇi prakṛiti-sthāni karṣhati. So friends, let us meet again in the next few days to listen and to learn about the next shloka of this 15th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. Till then, Jai Sri Krishna.